the exact same function from season 2 until season 7 of giving the boys someone to ask for help when they need it, a place so that we don't have 8,000 library scenes every season. We can get it down to like 4,000.
Yep.
And it gave them, between Bobby's and the Roadhouse, places to roam to and from in their off time.
Yeah.
Somewhere to explain where they've been in between cases. I think the fact that the writers and Eric felt tied down by this, I think is only made more evident that they could have gotten around this with the introduction of the Menace Letters bunker in season 8, which the boys call home, to the end of the series run. It's cheaper for production to have a set home-based location than redressing the same motel sets 6 or 7 times a season.
Also, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure every TV show in the history of ever has had like a rotating cast of minor characters that are recurring within repeating set. I think that's a thing that like every show has done.
It's really unavoidable.
I just think that like the idea of just like 2 guys as the only recurring characters in a car, that would have gotten boring after a while, and it just doesn't
that
seem...
would not have lasted 327 episodes.
It wouldn't have been sustainable.
No.
I think Supernatural's longevity is in part due to its amazing recurring characters.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the fact that it evolved over time. I do think an issue I can see Eric having with the Roadhouse that was valid is this network that it presents. I mean, Bobby presents the same issue to a point, but we know that John and Bobby didn't always get along. I think this idea of a roadhouse, a place where hunters go, and there's a community behind it, really throws John's parenting decisions and his deprivation of the boys to have a community into such like an obvious lighting. And I don't think Eric was prepared to commit to John being a bad father. I think he wrote John to be a bad father in the end, but I don't think he was prepared to commit to that at all. And I think the later seasons, again, said, well, that's silly. We can make that work with Bobby, Jody, seasons 12 to 14, the hunting networks that exist in those seasons, and prove that those things weren't detrimental to the story at all, as long as you accept that John sucks, which John does.
Yep. Stop apologizing for him. He's a terrible, terrible human being.
But yeah, like Ellen and Jo, I love them. I have very fond feelings for them. I think I like what their characters bring for the boys. Jo always kind of gave me like younger sibling vibes.
Yeah, she's like an annoying little sister that has a crush on Dean.
Yeah, I think her crush on Dean is interesting.
But like, it's not a sin.
Yeah, I can see why they chose not to develop it. And I think that would have been fine. I would have liked to see Jo grow out of her crush on Dean and then just like, become a good hunter.
Yeah, honestly,
maybe
that
realized she was a lesbian the whole time.
Wouldn't have been mad about that.
Honestly, seeing her grow out of her crush would have been more interesting for her character, because you just don't see that as often on TV. Like, the assumption is that if one character likes another character, then they're going to become a couple. But it's very realistic and, like, not in a bad way for someone to like another character and then grow out of it and just kind of come into themselves a bit more.
Up until the Meg scenario, I was kind of rooting for Jo and Sam to suddenly realize that they had crushes on each other.
Oh gosh, I would have liked that, actually.
I was really into it, and then the Meg thing happened, and that had sexual assault undertones, and I was like, oh no, okay, I'm out.
Oh no, poor Sam.
Yeah. And I think it'd be interesting if they kept her around, because I feel like we could also look at Jo as... she has like some similarity to Dean, I think, or like a Dean mirror almost. And I think if she had been allowed to like stick around for longer and grow out of that crush, it could have been really cool to see her maybe like call Dean out on things that she's like grown out of. And from this place of like originally having like a crush or idolizing him to going to like, you can't be acting like this.
I think Ellen and Jo are the first of many victims of this issue with the supernatural writing that I think, I don't know, the writers got into this, of all the things that the writers felt needed to be tied up, of all the loose ends that they felt couldn't be left loose, they really, I feel like, felt like they had to deal with every single character that they introduced. Every single hunter that the boys befriended along the way, they had to deal with them, and I think that's what leads to so many of them being killed off, especially ones that we see more than once. I think once we start seeing people more than once, then the writers started to feel like they had to wrap up storylines or like explain where those people were, and so then they just kill them off so that they don't have to. But the thing is that we don't need to explain where they are.
That's very true.
And I think
sometimes people just grow apart.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We're busy saving the world again and again and again. Maybe we just don't have time to check in with Ellen and Jo all the time, but like they can still be out there hunting things.
Yeah, and I feel like as you got to like the really later seasons, they kept doing this thing where just, I don't care for it personally, but they're like, oh yeah, like this one hunter, we've talked about him before, like not in any of these other episodes, but like he exists and he's like a thing, like, I don't know, or they'll like introduce a character, but it's like, if you kept like at least some of these characters around, this could have just been that hunter.
But I feel like Ellen and Jo in particular get so forgotten because they were so early on. For example, there's a British Men of Letters storyline, and they mentioned that one guy like introduced himself and says he knew Rufus. Rufus has been dead for like 6 seasons, but you know,
Rufus, no.
Poor Rufus. We haven't even met on this podcast yet. Like, this guy mentions that, oh, he knew Rufus. Rufus has been dead for 6 seasons. Well, how come nobody ever, knew Ellen and Jo?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, like, they just aren't mentioned.
Yeah, they were such
aren't brought up
for
hunters, and no one even mentions them anymore. Like,
At the point when they died, they were being included in their, like, the Winchester family. Like, they were really close, and they just deserved better, like, post-mortem as well.
yeah, and, like, but, like, also the other hunters. Like, so many other hunters were hanging out at the Roadhouse all the time. Hunters they didn't even really like, that were just there, like, coming in to, like, get the news and hang out, and they're just gone. Like, no one says, oh, like, I used to hang out at the Roadhouse.
I know it's
perfect way to connect people, and they just don't.
Yeah.
They didn't take advantage of enough of the really cool stuff they threw in there. That's just, like, an issue throughout Supernatural with lots of different things. Like, they have all these really cool things that they just never develop.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then if a character has to, you know, die or anything, I feel like, especially with Ellen and Jo, it feels so unnecessary, right? Because the death didn't really help them really get any, like, solid results.
No, it was literally for nothing. And, like, there were so many things I would have liked to have seen. Because, like, Ellen never really wanted to hunt. That was never Ellen's deal. She's doing it to hang out with Jo and be close to Jo and make sure Jo's safe. So we never deal with, like, Ellen's feelings about Bill's death. That's never resolved. And her, like, fear that Jo's gonna die hunting is never resolved. The few times that we see Jo hunting, for example, in No Exit, and when she, like, helps them break into Crowley's mansion, like, she uses her, like, tiny blonde, like, appearance to, like, get her into situations, and then she, like, turns around and she can handle her own shit. Like, that's so fun. That's a fun dynamic on this show of just, like, large white men who are muscling their way through every problem.
That's true.
I think one of the issues with their character death is, so when you kill off a character that's like, that has a name and who's been established as like a person, you have to kill them in a way that just resolves a character arc. Like, it has to be satisfying for the audience. Even if they don't want it to happen, you have to do it well. You have to give that character, like, just some credit and just respect them. But that didn't happen with Ellen and Jo. Their deaths didn't resolve any of their arcs.
Yeah, and, like, we're obviously in the middle of their arcs in our recap of the show. And, like, it's all, like, new and fresh again. And I'm like, this sucks. Like, the fact that this is so temporary and so short. Like, you forget about it, honestly. By the time you get to season 15, like, Ellen and Jo are in, like, a handful of episodes each, and that's it. And they're gone for 2 seasons in between. Like,
yeah. They showed that they could effectively bring them back for, like, a random episode after not talking about them for 2 years. And then they just immediately throw it away by killing them.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, if you ever see a character getting lots of character development out of the blue, it means they're gonna die.
Yeah.
Like, they were just gone. They were not present in seasons 3 and 4 at all, and then they immediately pop up in season 5, and they're dead by the season 5 mid-season finale. Like, it's rough. I did want to talk about something kind of fun and, like, I don't know, not canon or anything, but like canon adjacent, which is the series of events that lead to Bobby and Ellen being alternate universe married.
I feel like they had like a flirtation kind of thing going.
When do you think that occurred, like that marriage?
No idea.
I don't know.
Why do you think it occurred?
Well, after Bill, right?
It has to be. Like, there's no indication that in an alternate universe, Jo, like, isn't Bill's daughter. Like, there's no indication that that's not how things went. Things aren't that drastically different.
Do you think that had to be a whole adjustment? Like, do you think Jo was like, you're not my real dad?
Oh, absolutely.
She's like 11.
Definitely.
Because Jo, like, at most, is, like, 21.
Yeah.
when they meet her, which means that like in this like timeline, she's like maybe like now like 25-ish, and like Ellen and Bobby appear to have been married for a while. Which means that, like, I don't know. I just have mixed feelings about when that could have possibly happened. Whether it was when Jo was a kid or when Jo was a bit older.
Yeah, well, maybe, like, a few years after.
I just had a thought.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Ellen hates John and Bobby hates John. What if that was the thing that brought them together?
Me too.
I can see Bobby being like, John just drove out of here and I threatened to shoot him. And like,
Ellen just like pops a bottle of beer and is like, speak.
Yeah, that's the thing that elevates the relationship, is their mutual hatred of John. No, I don't know. I was just curious as to when the show was supposed to like lead us to believe that had happened. Because, you know, it didn't seem like they were like recently married, but I can't see Bobby getting married at any point between seasons 2 and season 6. You know?
Maybe they had been married for like a few years.
Just because, you know, everything from the time that the boys meet Bobby up until season 6 is just like on the go, everything's bad, the world's ending.
Yeah.
I can't see Bobby or Ellen being like, you know what we should do? We should get married.
It would have had to have been before that.
Yeah. But did anyone else have anything they want to talk about with Ellen or Jo?
I'm just kind of existing and enjoying.
It just makes me sad. I just feel like wasted potential, and then I'm like,
we can talk about how pretty Jo's hair is.
Oh my god, Alana Tall is so beautiful.
Wait, I was just, since I was like rewatching, I'd seen like the season 2 episodes, so I'm like, okay, let me go watch like the season 5 episodes and everything, and I'm like, I love that they're in this town fighting demons, but she needs some beachy waves.
Put your hair up.
Oh my gosh.
Put your hair up.
So many movies, like, you don't need to have your hair down for this. It's actually a handicap.
Ellen, you don't need the fake eyelashes. Like, I get it, but like...
Get it? You're a wonderful, thriving, middle-aged woman, but this isn't the time for them.
I would like to know if there's a reason why everybody wears their hair down
because
in TV.
This show is run by men.
Very true.
Yeah, like, remember when they introduced Eileen and she had her hair in a bun, and then they realized, wait, she's a love interest now? Okay, we gotta do her hair.
I love Eileen so much.
I feel like it's just like aesthetic though. You want things to look cool, so you don't necessarily think about like if they're practical.
I guess.
Because like I've done that lots of times with character design, and I am a girl with really long hair.
But like they're also doing a lot of practical effects, so you'd think that they would practically see how impractical it is.
Yeah.
Like, just to get the wispies out of the face. I don't...
Not hinder your ability to see to the side, you know?
Yeah, that might be nice. I have to braid my hair, because like even
you
if
have
it's
a
in a
lot of hair,
ponytail,
girl.
I do, yeah.
An above average amount.
I know. I'm a medieval sorceress.
I wasn't expecting this episode to be such a bummer. I was hoping we were having a good time, but I do feel really bummed out that they're dead.
Slightly, I know, it does suck. Okay, wait, slightly more fun question.
Yeah.
I feel like what character from the later seasons would it have been great if Ella and Jo could have hung out with?
Okay, yes, this is the type of stuff we're here for.
I
feel like Jo and Charlie.
Absolutely.
Because they're both like the little sister dynamic, right? And I feel like they could have done a lot.
Oh, they are teaming up and they are causing the most trouble for Sam and Dean. You thought Sam and Dean were bad in prank war? Sam and Dean versus Jo and Charlie? Just everybody else clear the bunker.
Oh, they wouldn't have had a
Oh my
chance
God.
against those two. They are deceptively smart.
Oh, Charlie is way smarter than any of them.
Exactly.
And then Jo is just like so good at getting under their skin. Like, oh my god, they would have wiped
Also,
the
like,
floor.
physically they're both smaller, so they could like crawl away
Oh,
in
they can get
small
in
places.
yeah.
Like,
They're getting shit done.
yes, they are.
Yeah.
It's like, punch
So
this down,
fun.
Dean.
Ellen and Jo and Cass had like half of an episode together, and I would have liked to see more.
That would be
I would have loved that.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, but if they were still around and like when Cass was a human...
Oh, he would have gone to stay at the Roadhouse, 100%.
What if they met Jack?
Jack!
They would be his aunts.
Ellen and Jack!
Oh my gosh. Jo could be like the big sister for once.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god, the Wayward Sisters.
Oh yes.
They would have been pioneering that shit.
Ellen and Jody.
Yeah, Ellen and Jody are basically the same person.
They would get along so well. They would share war stories about like mothering the boys.
Oh, 100%.
And dealing with Bobby when he's grouchy.
When, like, any of whenever of Jodie's, like, met stray children